You live as if the world has signed an agreement with you. You do not say this aloud. You may even deny it. Yet you feel it each time something should have happened and did not. Each time a person ought to understand you but does not. Each time effort must lead to reward, honesty must be recognized, love must stay, health must hold, plans must unfold as drawn, and when the agreement is broken, you call it misfortune. But it was never an agreement, it was your expectation. Expectation is a quiet demand placed on what is not yours to command. It is not merely hope. Hope can be light. Expectation is heavy. It carries entitlement, even if you hide it behind politeness. It turns neutral events into offenses. It turns other human beings into instruments. It turns time into a debtor. Then you wonder why you feel tense, why your mind is always bracing, why peace seems dependent on cooperation from the outside world. Freedom begins where expectation ends, not because you stop caring, not because you become cold, because you stop confusing your will with the world. Look closely at what expectation does inside you. It places your inner condition on the leash of external things. If they move as you want, you feel fine. If they move otherwise, your mind tightens, your mood drops, your judgment becomes reactive. You begin negotiating with reality as if reality can be persuaded by your disappointment. But reality does not negotiate. The world is not hostile. It is indifferent. People are not obligated to match the image you build of them. Circumstances are not obligated to reward your effort on your timeline. Bodies are not obligated to remain strong because you fear weakness. The future is not obligated to arrive in the shape you imagine. This is not a bleak view, it is a clear one. Your suffering does not come from events themselves. It comes from the judgment you attach to them. An expectation is a judgment disguised as prediction. You think you are forecasting. You are commanding. To release expectations is to return to what you truly own. Your judgments, your choices, your character, your intention. This is not philosophy as decoration. It is a practical separation of realms. The outside world is one realm. It has its own causes, its own weather, its own minds and bodies and accidents. Your will is another realm. That realm is yours if you govern it. Most people do not. They hand it away in small transactions every day. I will be calm if they respond. I will be confident if I get the outcome. I will feel secure if the plan holds. Each sentence is a transfer of authority. You sign your inner state over to what you cannot steer. Then you call it anxiety. The anxious mind is a mind trying to control what does not belong to it. It is not weak. It is misdirected. It is a strong faculty pointed at the wrong target, like a hand squeezing water. Expectation is that squeeze. So begin with a simpler question than, how do I stop expecting? Ask her, what is truly within my control here? Not the result, not the reaction of others, not the timing, not the recognition, not the permanence. Within your control is this: the quality of your choice in the present moment, the honesty of your speech, the steadiness of your mind, the discipline of your response, the alignment of your actions with reason. This is not small, it is everything that is yours. Expectation steals your attention from this and throws it outward. It turns your mind into a sentry watching for compliance. It makes you interpret delays as disrespect, silence as rejection, change as betrayal. It is not the delay, the silence, or the change that harms you. It is the interpretation, this should not be. That phrase, should not be, is the root of inner bondage, because it is a refusal to accept what has already occurred. Notice the subtle violence in it. You are not merely observing reality, you are resisting it. And resistance to what has already happened is wasted strength. It produces anger, bitterness, resentment, fatigue. It makes you behave in ways you later regret, because you are no longer acting from reason, but from friction. Letting go is not passivity, it is the end of friction. To let go of expectations is to meet events as they are, not as you demanded them to be. This does not prevent you from acting. It purifies action. It removes the poison of entitlement. It removes the hidden bargain. I will do my part only if the world does its part. The disciplined mind does its part because it is right to do so. This is freedom. Most people call freedom the ability to get what they want. That is not freedom. That is dependence on favorable conditions. Real freedom is the ability to remain governed by reason regardless of conditions. When you hold expectations, you are saying, my peace will be delivered to me by the world. When you release them, you say, my peace will be built by my judgment. Now, you might fear what happens when you stop expecting. You might think you will stop striving. You might think you will accept injustice. You might think you will become indifferent to others. You might think you will lower your standards. This fear comes from confusion. Expectation is not the same as intention. Expectation says this outcome must occur. Intention says, this is what I will aim at with my best effort while accepting that the outcome is not mine. Expectation demands success. Intention commits to virtue. Expectation demands loyalty from others. Intention offers loyalty from yourself. Expectation demands certainty. Intention accepts uncertainty and acts anyway. One binds you, the other steadies you. You can work hard without expecting reward. You can love without expecting permanence. You can speak honestly without expecting applause. You can plan without expecting control. You can help without expecting gratitude. In fact, your work becomes cleaner when expectation is removed. It becomes less performative and more sincere. Your love becomes less possessive and more generous. Your speech becomes less manipulative and more direct. You stop doing things to force the world to validate you. You do them because they are right. This is the shift from bargaining to choosing. Look at a common tension. You send a message, no response. Your mind begins to interpret. They are ignoring me. They don't care. I must have said something wrong. Your pulse changes. Your attention narrows. You become restless. You consider sending another message, not from clarity, but from discomfort. You begin constructing stories, rehearsing confrontations, preparing defenses. This is not caused by the lack of response. It is caused by expectation. They should respond in the way and time I want. Remove the expectation and the event becomes simple. There is no response yet. Then reason asks, what is within my control? You can choose to wait. You can choose to follow up once, calmly. You can choose to focus elsewhere. You can choose not to feed fantasies. You can choose not to punish them in your mind before you know anything. The event remains the same. Your inner state changes completely. This is the daily practice of freedom. Or consider work. You put in effort. You do things properly. You expect recognition. It does not come. You feel slighted. You think the system is unfair. You begin to resent colleagues. You either withdraw or overcompensate. Your work becomes bitter. You are no longer engaged in the task. You are engaged in the tribunal in your head. Again, the cause is not the lack of recognition. It is expectation. My effort must produce approval. But approval is not yours. It lives in other minds. Other minds have their own motives, distractions, limitations, biases. What is yours is to work with integrity, to speak up when needed, to seek improvement, to pursue opportunities rationally, to leave what is harmful when reason demands it. You can do all of this without the inner demand that the world repay you in the currency you prefer. When you release expectation, you can still prefer. You can still plan. You can still aim. But you stop making your inner stability dependent on a specific return. This is what most people misunderstand. Letting go is not losing preference. It is losing dependence. You can prefer health. You can prefer success. You can prefer harmony. But you must not attach your peace to them, because none of them are fully yours. They are partly yours at best, and sometimes not yours at all. Here is the harder part. Expectations often hide in virtues. You behave well, and then you expect others to behave well in return. You are honest, and you expect honesty. You are loyal, and you expect loyalty. You forgive, and you expect appreciation. You sacrifice, and you expect understanding. When these do not arrive, you feel betrayed. But what happened is simpler. You perform virtue as a transaction. This is not virtue. This is commerce. Virtue is its own reward because it is the health of the soul. It is the alignment of your mind with reason. It is the only possession you cannot be robbed of unless you surrender it. If you did the right thing and the world answered with wrong, you have lost nothing essential unless you allow bitterness to corrupt you. The corruption is optional. It is a choice. This is why letting go brings freedom. It prevents the world from using your own goodness as a lever against you. A person who expects repayment for virtue is easily manipulated. They will compromise their character to avoid losing approval. They will flatter, conceal, overextend, and then resent. They will become two-faced, kind on the surface, angry underneath. A person who acts from reason without expectation is harder to disturb. They can be kind without being controlled. They can be firm without being cruel. They can accept disappointment without collapsing into self-pity. This is strength. But strength is not a feeling. It is a posture of judgment. Now, the mind will resist this because expectation provides a false sense of control. It makes you feel as if you are participating in the outcome by demanding it. It is an illusion, but it is a comforting one. The mind would rather feel falsely in control than honestly uncertain. So it clings. It repeats should, must, always, never. Watch these words. They are signals of expectation. People should be fair. They must respect me. This always happens. This should not have happened. When you hear these in your mind, pause. Not to fight them emotionally, to correct them rationally. Replace should with I would prefer. Replace must with I will do what is right regardless. Replace always and never with sometimes. This is not wordplay, it is discipline of perception. You are training your mind to see reality rather than demand it. And then something quiet happens. You begin to meet life without a clenched fist. You can walk through a day and see delays as delays, not insults. You can receive criticism without collapsing into shame. You can lose a plan without losing your center. You can be misunderstood without rushing to control perception because you have returned authority to where it belongs. Inside, this is where freedom begins. And this is where we continue. Your expectations are not only about events, they are also about yourself. You have a script for how you should feel, how you should perform, how quickly you should heal, how composed you should be, how productive you should be, how confident you should be. When you fail to match your script, you turn against yourself. You call it weakness. You call it failure. You add judgment to what is already difficult. But the same rule applies. You do not control the immediate sensations, the first impressions, the initial waves of emotion. You control the judgment you add to them. You control whether you indulge them. You control the actions you take while they pass. So do not expect yourself to be unshaken. Expect yourself to be disciplined. The untrained mind expects never to feel anger. Then it feels anger and despises itself. It becomes angry about being angry. This doubles the disturbance. The trained mind expects impressions to arise. It expects discomfort to visit. It expects uncertainty. It expects loss. Not because it is pessimistic, but because it is honest about the nature of things. Honesty is calming. It prevents surprise from turning into panic. If you expect that life will include setbacks, you will not treat setbacks as personal attacks. You will treat them as part of the terrain. Then you can respond with reason instead of outrage. Most suffering is not pain. It is surprise plus resistance. Expectation is the engine of surprise. It tells you the world will behave in a narrow way. When the world behaves otherwise, you feel shocked and offended. You experience not only the event, but the collapse of your illusion. So you can choose a different relationship with the future. Not to predict it, to prepare your mind for it. Preparation is not expecting the worst. It is accepting that outcomes are not yours and that you will meet whatever comes with reason. This is the Stoic stance, to be ready without being tense. You do this by rehearsing one thought until it becomes natural. This is not mind to command. Say it when you want control. Say it when you want certainty. Say it when you want to force an outcome with worry. Worry is not planning. Worry is pretending that anxiety is a form of influence. It is expectation in the shape of fear. I must prevent this. But you cannot prevent everything. You can only choose your conduct. When you accept this, worry begins to lose its authority. It may still appear, but it no longer governs. Now, what happens to desire when expectations are released? Desire becomes cleaner. Most desire is tangled with demand. You want something, and you also demand that you get it. You demand that it arrive soon. You demand that it arrive without cost. You demand that it stay. You demand that others play their roles. This demand turns desire into agitation. It makes you chase, cling, and panic. It makes you call life unbearable when it simply does not obey. But desire itself can be guided. You can prefer what is reasonable. You can pursue what is virtuous. You can aim toward health, skill, stable relationships, meaningful work. You can do all this without turning your preferences into laws for the universe. A disciplined desire says, I will act. An undisciplined desire says, it must happen. One creates effort, the other creates anxiety. This distinction matters in love most of all. Many people believe love requires expectation. Expectation of consistency, of reassurance, of constant attention, of being chosen in the same way every day. But love built on expectation is fragile. It is always testing. It is always measuring. It is always afraid. It says, if you love me, you would, and then it watches. This is not love, it is surveillance. Real affection, governed by reason, sees the other as a human being, not as a promise. A human being is changeable. Sometimes they are tired. Sometimes they are confused. Sometimes they are selfish. Sometimes they are generous. Sometimes they fail. If you demand that they never fail, you are not seeing them. You are seeing your fantasy, and you will punish them for not being your fantasy. Letting go of expectations in love does not mean tolerating harm. It means you stop trying to control the other's mind. You stop needing them to behave in a precise way to regulate your internal state. You still set boundaries. You still choose what is acceptable. You still leave what is destructive, but you do it from clarity, not from panic. You do it because reason shows you what is right, not because fear demands certainty. When you release expectation, you can love without clinging. You can be present without demanding. You can give without bargaining. And if loss comes, as it sometimes does, you grieve without being shattered by entitlement. Grief is natural, entitlement is optional. The mind that expects permanence makes loss unbearable. The mind that accepts impermanence still feels pain, but it does not add revolt. It says, this was given for a time, now it is returned. This is not cold, it is accurate. Everything external is on loan. People, status, possessions, reputation, health, time itself. You do not own them. You are entrusted with them temporarily. Expectation is acting like the loan is a possession. When the lender calls it back, you accuse life of theft. But life did not steal, life reclaimed. This view does something profound. It softens greed. It softens jealousy. It softens the tight grip around your days. It makes gratitude possible, not as a performance, but as clear recognition. If something can be lost, it is not yours. If it is not yours, do not anchor your peace to it. Anchor your peace to your character. And now you can see why letting go brings freedom, because it breaks the chain. Expectation is the chain linking your inner state to the outer world. It is a contract you wrote and forced yourself to sign. Release it, not with a dramatic gesture, with repeated small decisions. Each time you catch yourself thinking, this should be different, return to the question, what is within my control? Within your control is how you interpret. Within your control is what you choose next. Within your control is whether you meet difficulty with virtue or with complaint. This is the only field where you can win without loss, because the opponent is not the world. The opponent is your own misjudgment. You will not end expectations in a single day because they are woven into habits. They are inherited from childhood, from culture, from your own unexamined desires. But you can weaken them steadily. The way you weaken them is not by arguing with reality, but by aligning with it. Aligning does not mean approving. It means seeing clearly. A thing has happened. A person has acted, a plan has changed. These are facts. The mind then adds a story. This is unfair. This is unbearable. This is humiliating. This ruins everything. Sometimes these judgments are correct. Often they are exaggerated. But even when something is unjust, your response still must be governed by reason. If you respond with expectation, you become reactive. You lash out, you collapse, you obsess. If you respond with reason, you act appropriately. You speak, you resist, you leave, you rebuild, you endure. Expectation makes you fragile even in justice. Reason makes you steady even in injustice. Now consider the hidden pride inside expectation. Expectation says, because I want it, it should be so. This is not always arrogant in tone. It may be humble in appearance, but it still places your preference at the center of reality. The disciplined mind does not do this. It places reason at the center. Reason asks, what is appropriate? What is true? What is mine to choose? What is the right use of this moment? When you live from this question, you no longer need the world to follow your script. You become adaptable without being unstable. You become firm without being rigid. You can accept without surrendering. You can strive without clinging. This is the kind of freedom most people never taste because they keep bargaining with the uncontrollable. They wake up expecting the day to be smooth. They expect people to understand. They expect their efforts to be noticed. They expect their mood to cooperate. They expect their body to obey. Then the day gives them what days give everyone: delays, misunderstandings, small failures, fatigue, unpredictability, and they call it a bad day. But a bad day is often only a day that refused to obey expectation. A good day, for the disciplined mind, is a day in which the will remained aligned with reason. Even if rain fell, even if someone was rude, even if plans failed, even if the body ached. Because the quality of the day is not measured by outcomes. It is measured by the state of the ruling mind. So if you want freedom, do not ask the world to become predictable. Make your mind reliable. Not emotionally numb, reliable. Reliable in its judgments. Reliable in its restraint. Reliable in its ability to pause and choose rather than react and demand. When you expect, you react. When you accept, you choose. This is the difference. Now we come to the practical integration, not in the form of steps, but as mental principles you can carry through the day like steady weights. When you are about to demand something internally, remember, you can aim without demanding. When you are about to interpret a delay as disrespect, remember, you do not know the causes and your peace does not depend on them. When you are about to assume you deserve a particular outcome, remember, you deserve only the chance to act with virtue. When you are about to cling to praise or fear blame, remember reputation is outside you. Character is within you. When you are about to fear the future, remember, the future is not yours. The present choice is. And when disappointment arrives, because it will, do not treat it as evidence that life is against you. Treat it as training. Not romantic training, not motivational training. Training in the strict sense, a repeated chance to practice correct judgment. Disappointment is the moment your expectation meets reality. If you meet that moment with resentment, you strengthen the habit of bondage. If you meet it with reason, you strengthen the habit of freedom. You say, this is what has happened. Now what is mine to do? This question is always available. It is the gate out of suffering. It does not change the world. It changes your relation to the world. And relation is where peace lives. To let go of expectations is to stop leaning your inner weight on fragile supports. It is to stand on what cannot be taken. Your ability to judge rightly, to act wisely, to endure calmly, to treat others justly, to restrain impulses, to accept change. This is not a life without preference. It is a life without inner slavery. So let the world be as it is, moving, uncertain, imperfect. Let others be as they are, limited, shifting, sometimes kind, sometimes thoughtless. Let outcomes be as they are, partly shaped by you, partly shaped by forces you will never see. Then take up what is yours, the discipline to meet each moment with reason. Peace comes from holding only what belongs to you and releasing what never did.